God damn it, Unity. So, I wanted to make a video a while ago about this, about what it would be like to try Godot, how are we saying this? That engine, as someone who's used to Unity, purely because I've been aware of it for a while, and as open source software, it seems to me like it could become incredibly important over the next few years, in the same way that other pieces of open source software like WordPress or Blender or stuff like that have become hugely important to the industries in which they exist. I don't know what Unity are going to say in the coming days. I don't know what they're going to change, but if there was ever a push to use something else, they've gone and done it. So I wanted to make a video like this anyway. I didn't want it to be under these circumstances, and I didn't want it to be this rushed. I'm in a new house, in a new office. I barely unpacked it, but I feel like it's not even that I feel like I need to make this content for other people. I kind of sat down this morning thinking, do I still want to use Unity? And that's a question I'm going to try and answer today, because I won't recommend an engine I wouldn't want to use myself. And after everything that's happened in the last week or so, it's raised some serious questions to me over whether I would still use Unity or not to build my own projects. So that's what I'm here to find out. I've not used it before. I've not used Godot before, ever. I've literally just installed it. I've never even opened it. And I'm going to make a small, tiny project that in Unity I know would take me about the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. I'm going to try and create that in Godot and see how difficult it is, if I can even do it. And then see what my thoughts are. And then when Unity do inevitably change their runtime fee to whatever they're going to change it to in the future, whether it's revenue share, whatever, I feel like a lot of people will, I'll be able to make an informed decision about what I want to do in the future. And that's probably where a lot of other people are sitting right now as well. They want to use Unity, but are worried about this sort of thing happening again. So that's what we're going to do today. Going to try Godot and see what it's like. Right. So new project, I guess. Where are my drives? Okay. Okay. What have we got? Forward plus, mobile compatibility. I'm just going to keep this as that, because that was the default. Hello Godot. Godot. See, now I thought I heard that there was some difference about X, Y, and Z being different, but I think that's unreal. I think that's not this. So Y appears to be up, which is okay. Good. Can I move around? Yeah, I can move around. Create root node. So scene, 3D scene. Right, so I'm saving the scene. I just hit Command S. Okay, so I have a scene now, it seems. Can I... Right. Node feels like the equivalent of an object at the moment. So how do you create an object? How do you just create a cube? So what I'd like to be able to create is a 3D object that can be moved around with the keyboard. Press a button and it jumps with some physics. and the camera follows it around. Let's just start doing stuff. I'm resisting the urge here to just Google the shit out of this because I kind of want to feel the frustration and the confusion a little bit at its worst. And then if I really can't do something, if it's obvious I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to look it up. Because that's what you normally do, obviously. But I kind of also want to test how intuitive it is in a worst case scenario where, I don't know, I'm not allowed to use the internet. Because one of the big differences between Godot and Unity is the size of the user base. And now, while I'm not saying there aren't really good resources to learn this from YouTube and the internet, there are. I will put a few in the description of this video. There is not the same user base as there is in Unity. Most problems in Unity have been solved by someone, somewhere, and documented in a forum or on a blog like mine or on a YouTube channel, or Brackies showed you how to do it. So, I want to feel the frustration a little bit, but not to the point where we can't make the video. The most basic 3D game object, parent of all 3D related nodes. Okay, let's make another node, add child node. So it seems to me like a 3D node is a type of 3D object, whereas in Unity you'd have all the objects are the same, and then the differentiating factor is the type of collider or the type of renderer you might use. You might use a sprite or a mesh. This seems to define it from the start as it's either a 2D object on what appears to be the canvas, or a 3D object. So let's add... Surely it can't be this hard to make a cube. Right, I'm looking it up. I can't do this forever. How to make a cube. Okay, so Visual Instance 3D, that's where it was. And here are our primitive shapes. So, and we have a cube. Okay, great. So let's make this, I want to make this big and flat, and this is just going to be the floor. So let's change that to, usually do this, and then that. Right, so now let's make what will be the character running around. So, do we have a capsule? Not really. We'll just make a cylinder. It's not important. Raise it up. It's a bit blocky. Can we change that? Oh, here's cylinder. Okay. Radius. Sides. There we go. This seems to be equivalent to the inspector in Unity, except that I feel like, whereas in Unity you'd create a game object and you'd add components to it, this appears to be the component and the game object are kind of one in this node. At least that's how it seems right now. By the way, this is probably a good point to mention. If you want an actual tutorial where someone shows you how to use this engine, this isn't it. This is to give you an idea of what like your first time experience might be, not to say this is how to use it. Right, so we've got our cylinder. I feel like the next step's going to be to give it some physics. Everything seems to be a child of the floor at the moment. Have I gotten this wrong? Do I need to... Is this like a 3D scene and I need to create objects inside of this? Let's change that back to node 3D. Right, here we are. So, rigid body 3D. So that's, in Unity, that's what would make a physics object move. I realize it doesn't have a collider yet. Let's just give it physics first. Oh, it's shouting at me. This node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with any other objects. Yeah, so it needs a collider. Okay. Consider adding a collision shape 3D or collision polygon 3D as a child. All right, I will. Collision shape 3D. That's shouting at me too, why? Oh, okay. So it can't be parallel. It needs to be a child of the rigid body. So if I drag that on there, is that going to fix my problems? It fixed one of my problems. A shape must be provided. Okay, let's give it a shape. So we're going to make it a... May as well make it a cylinder as well. Can we see this shape? Yeah, that looks like. How do we play? This play button. No main scene has ever been defined. Select one. Select current. Oh, here we go. So I think what I need to do is I need to add a camera and try that again. Camera. Oh, I can just drag it. Nice. Does that turn the camera on? Do I need that on? If true, the ancestor viewport is currently using this camera. Viewport. Do I need a viewport? I don't feel like I do need a viewport. I feel like these are for like picture-in-picture or something. So I'm going to not do anything for now, and I'm going to let it shout at me if I've done it wrong. Okay, so it's pointing at the cylinder. Let's save and play and see what happens. So we've got an unlit scene with a working camera. Okay, great. Let's get a light in here. Here we go. Oh, sun. Yeah, no, we just want sunlight, don't we? Can we pick the direction? See, now I've been trying to work out the direction and fail to notice this giant arrow on the side. Here we go. That was easy. Okay, so we can see what's going on now. The other thing, it didn't fall through the floor, did it? I wanted it to fall through the floor. Right, let's address that. Have we got gravity on? Got gravity scale 1. Mass, a kilo. Sleeping off, can sleep on. Or has it fallen through the floor? That's the rigid body. Let's raise the whole thing up. See if it does fall. Does it fall? No. Let's see if it needs a physics material, because it doesn't have one. Let's see if that works. Nope. Right. Back to Google. Okay, development you sometimes need physics. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that just says that it should fall. So why didn't it? I'll take the physics material off because I don't think that's it. Center of mass, auto, gravity scale 1. Unless there is no gravity in the scene. Does there need to be gravity in the scene? Right, project settings, physics, 3D, default gravity 9.8, gravity direction down. Where's my gravity? Why isn't this working? So my only problem was the rigid body has to be the root object, and then the collider, and then the cylinder, or at least that's what I had to do to make it work. So all I've had to do is drag this out so the rigid body is the root object, the root node, if you like, and then I've just dragged the cylinder onto the collider. So I've got rigid body, collider, cylinder, and now when I play it, it falls through the floor, which is what I wanted before. Still broken, but broken on purpose. So let's fix that. Let's give the floor a collider. Yep, what's wrong? Collision shape 3D only serves to provide collision shape 2. This raises another question. So in Unity, if you wanted to make two physics objects where one moves and one doesn't. You make two objects with colliders, and then you just add the rigid body to the moving object. This is shouting at me because it wants me to add a rigid body to an object I don't want to move. So I'm assuming that adding a rigid body to that and making it kinematic so that it doesn't move is probably not the right way to do it. So let's see if there's a better way instead. Static body 3D, that's got to be what we need, right? Static body 3D, a 3D physics body that can't be moved by external forces. That's what we need. When moved manually, it doesn't affect other bodies in its path. Exactly the same as moving a collider in Unity without a rigid body on it. Wouldn't affect other colliders. So we're going to create that, and the order is incorrect because we know that now. So let's just drag that up there. So let's try that again. Yeah, there we go. Brilliant. So what's next? Let's get this cylinder moving around. That tea's gone very cold. It's all right. I'm having a lovely time. It's fine. I probably could do all this using the position of the object. So, you know, they have transforms, but I feel like that would be a bit too easy. I want to, again, experience these problems so that I feel like I know what fully working in this engine would be like compared to Unity. So far, it's been a blast. There's documentation in the right place. The tooltips are helpful. And whenever I get an error, it doesn't shout at me because my script's broken. It warns me beforehand, you're doing something the wrong way, here's how to fix it. So far, having a lovely time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the physics of the object so that it can only move forwards, backwards, up and down. Yeah, so angular XYZ. Let's try and tip this over. And we can't. Excellent. Okay, great. We're going to have to write a script now, aren't we? So it is possible to use C# with Godot. I did not set it up to be able to use C# and Godot for two reasons. One, I want to see what GDScript is like. Two, I've heard that C# implementation in Godot is not perfect, which may or may not be true. I don't know. I kind of want to start with GDScript and see where we go from there. Interesting. Let's just call it object mover. I'm not sure yet if I'm doing this the right way. It seems to inherit from the rigid body node, which might be required to move it around. I'm not sure yet. Okay. Called when the node enters the scene tree for the first time. Called every frame. Delta is the elapsed time since the previous frame. Okay, so it's process passes in delta. Pass. What is pass? So this is how I do it in Unity. Well, have I broken it already? No. Yes. I'm just now realizing that using a scripting language for the first time in a YouTube video is a terrible, terrible idea. Because I'm having to guess what's wrong with this. Am I not allowed to declare variables at the top? Okay, I'm going to very quickly see how GDScript works. So things I learned from my quick 5-minute look around on YouTube. So instead of doing this, I probably could have just locked the rotation like that. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is correct. It does need to extend rigid body 3D. Instead of brackets, the contents of the function are defined using indents. And the reason it has pass is because you can't have the function be empty. Let's try and get some input values and apply them to the rigid body. That's what we want to do. God, why am I doing it this way? This is an awful way to learn. So let's do it in bits so we don't do it horribly wrong. Let's do variable vertical move equals. Right, so we're getting some sort of autocomplete now, so I'm probably doing it correctly now. So input dot, ooh, there's loads. I have looked this up and I think I'm looking for get action strength, and then UI up, I believe, is what I want for up and down. I don't know if up and down are already going to be defined, but let's just baby steps here, baby steps. So that's the vertical move value, and then apply central force seems to be the function to apply force to the rigid body. And usually that would take a vector 3. This does take a vector 3. So usually in Unity what I do with this is I would define a direction and then scale it by an input value and then multiply the whole thing by delta time. So that's what I'm going to try and do. So I'm going to do vertical move multiplied by, do we have vector 3 forward? We do. And then times that by delta. Yeah, delta, which is passed into the update. Oh, it's okay. Great. It's working. Nothing happened. Let's multiply it by 1,000 just to make sure that it's not a strength issue. Oh, it is. Oh, hello. Oh, it's gone. It's fallen off. I'm assuming my floor collider shape is not very big. Where's my shape? Why is that linked? Okay, so now... Okay. So I have up. I don't have down, so it's not getting the axis back to the script. It is, however, working. So there's that. Really, I want to get an axis so that you can't, say, hold up and down at the same time and get, you know, two weird values. I want the whole axis, really. So let's see if I can do this again and get an axis. Input dot get axis. Okay. UI. So this would be a good time to go to the documentation and find out about input. So we have, here we are, right, so get axis, and then you pass in the negative action and the positive action. So yeah, that is exactly what we want. So up, let's make that down, and then UI up. So now we should have forwards and backwards. Okay, so we're just going to do the same again. Horizontal move equals inputs dot get axis, UI left, and then UI right. Gotta change that to right. I'm guessing model right that I just saw there. I'm guessing that's local right. But at the moment, I'm happy with this being global. Okay, so that works. Really, I would have done this in a vector 3 and normalized it, because what you get now is you get this weird effect where if you press both directions, you get 1.4 times the speed than if you just did one on their own. So let's try and fix that. So let's just do vector 3 move amount equals, how do you make a new vector 3 in this? Because in C# I would do this, new vector 3, and then I'd pump my variables in, but it clearly does not want me to do that. I'm going back to Google. Okay, so this reckons you can do it. So if I new vector 3, vertical move 0, horizontal move. Oh, so I just removed the new keyword. Horizontal move. Actually, those are the wrong way around. Then we can just move amount times 1000 times delta. How do we comment these? You can't just comment stuff out. You probably can. I don't know how to do it. Toggle comment, Command K. There we go. Still goes too far that way, but now we're using a vector 3. We should be able to normalize it. Oh, here we go. Normalized. That looks like a normalized vector to me. In this same script, I'm going to add a function for jumping. Function jump. Let's take a float force. Okay, let's try it like this. I'm wondering if arguments that you pass to functions are always implicit in this. Maybe someone can explain that to me in the comments. So apply impulse. So an impulse is going to be an instant force as opposed to an acceleration of force. So a hit instead of a push. And I'm going to make that vector 3 up times 5,000. Do we need to do delta? We don't need to do delta because it's a single force. We don't need to do delta. But I probably need to calm that down if it's not going to be scaled. So can I do 2 lines? I think so. If input action press, can we do a key? Can we just do a key for now? Is key pressed? I feel like this is going to work, but I feel like it's going to be, this will apply it continuously if I hold it down. Let's find out. Jump, and then we'll give it a force of 1,000. I forgot to make that. There we go, force. Oh, nothing's working because there's an error. What did I do? Expected closing after grouping expression. Oh no, this isn't, it's not that, it's this, isn't it? So what have I done? Do I need to do that? Oh no, it's just parentheses. I've not done enough parentheses because I'm an idiot. I do this in Unity as well, actually, so nothing wrong there. And then do I need to do that? There we go. Can we jump? And some, okay. Calm it down a bit more. Okay, so it's working, but as expected, holding the key down just, so we need to get the initial key press, the action, and not the continual press. So I think the proper way to do this would be similar to the proper way to do this in Unity, where you wouldn't really want to directly read the keys anyway. You'd want to abstract it into actions and read those, which is what I think I've been using with UI up, down, left, and right. So that's what we need to try and do for this as well. So I need to find a way to edit those UI actions. So I'm going to look that up. You define input actions in the project settings under the input map tab. Okay, let's go there. Oh, input map, it's right there. Ah, okay, so we've got a bunch of built-in actions, such as UI left, which is keypad left. So this is already set up for you. Do we already have one that uses space? What's select? Should we just make it select? Cancel, select, space, yeah. So I just need to use UI select. So I'm going to assume action press, UI select, it returns void. Okay, why does it return void? Okay, so is action just pressed? Returns true when the user has started pressing the action. It will only return true on the frame or tick that the user pressed down the button. That's exactly what I want. So I want is action just pressed? UI select. If it is, jump. It's a teeny tiny jump now, but it's working. Let's make it a bit bigger. There we go. Jumping. So the last thing I wanted to do was I wanted to have the camera follow the player, which I feel like this might be the trickiest one of the things to do. However, I do think it is important because it's a connection between two different objects. How do I make this follow this? I think I'm going to look this up before I try to guess this. I'm familiar with Unity, and so I'm confused as to how I reference another object. And I can't get a clear answer from any Google search. Okay, so you can get node and find node, and you seem to pass the name of it in. Is that really the best way? There is one way I could just do this easily, and that is if I go in here and I just make my camera a child of the player object, and then just offset it. So although it doesn't look like it, that is working. Normally I would have these objects separate and have the camera read the position of the player and smoothly move towards it, which I'm not quite sure how to do, if I'm being honest, but I'm going to give it a go. Camera 3D follow, create. So one way I might do this is to move it independently of the player, which usually means it needs to be an independent object. But it would be a whole lot easier if it's not an independent object, if it's a child object or child node. Use the proper language. But that just depends if I can prevent it from being moved around with the object. So I'm going to jump back into the inspector and see if that's an option, because it might be. And let's see, transform position. Top level. If true, the node will not inherit its transformations from its parent. Node transformations are only in global space. Interesting. So we can have the relationship of a child and parent node, but without the movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my camera back to rigid body and then select top level. So what should happen now is, even though it's nested, nothing should happen, at least not with the camera. Yeah, okay, great. So now I can read the position of the parents and move to it gradually. So let's set the player equals, where do we find it? Node, get parent node 3D. Does that work? Right, this might work. Transform.position equals player dot transform dot position. Cannot find property position on base transform 3D. Why not? Okay, I looked it up, and it seems to be that when you need an explicit reference to the node script attached to, self is the way to go. So let's try that. Self dot transform dot position equals player dot transform position. Cannot find property position on base transform 3D. So is that a problem with the player? Don't tell me that's all I needed to do. Oh, can I remove self? I think I can. Okay. Well, let's see if this works. Uh-oh. Null reference. I'm not entirely sure what I've done, but what seems to be working now is I'm getting the parent node using getParent, and then in the update function, I'm setting the position to the player position. What that looks like is it just follows it directly. So that's what I want. Now I want it to follow with an offset. So I need to move it smoothly, and I need to add an offset to the player. I need the equivalent of move towards, or what was it called? Smooth damp in Unity. So we're just going to Google that and see what comes up. So, not a great sign. We've got a Unity article come back. Do we have lerp? Do we have vector 3 lerp? Vector 3 lerp to wait. Where do I just put that? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, lerp. So target would be player position, and the weight would be variant 2 weight. Yeah, okay, there we go. So it's the position we're lerping, the target, the final position we want to move to, and then the weight. And if I remember correctly, okay, so I think I can just pass in delta time, but we'll see. Save, play. Oh yeah, that's kind of working. That's kind of doing its thing. Okay, so we need to offset it. So back times 3. Let's try that. Okay, so there we go. It kind of follows around. So just a quick fix for an earlier section. What I didn't do, we're applying physics forces in here. So really we need to find what the fixed update process is. Let's see if we can work out what it's going to be. Physics process, that looks right. Physics process. And then we can just apply central force, move amount. That should work. Something's not working here. So it doesn't like this. Oh no, it does. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know what was wrong with it, but it's fine. Okay, so what do I think of Godot as an alternative to Unity? Yeah, pretty good. Based on my limited knowledge of Godot and the morning I've just spent with it, didn't have to look that much up, to be honest. Considering that, I did this in possibly the stupidest way possible. I thought, I know Unity, I'll know this, and just jumped in and started trying to use it as if I knew what I was doing. And that's got to be a stupid way to learn an engine. My biggest stumbling blocks were not necessarily because the engine is difficult to work with. It wasn't. Understanding that there are certain ways to do things, like to change values and to move things around, those are generally transferable between engines, and they have been here. You know, I'm using a similar function to move the camera around as I would do in Unity. It's just got a different way of inputting it. The name's basically the same. So I think knowing that, I think if you understand how to solve problems in one engine, then you'll be able to apply that knowledge to a different engine that works in a similar way. Would I switch from Unity to Godot right now? Not yet, but this engine's going to get bigger, it's going to get better. It has been getting bigger and better. Just the fact that I haven't known much about it doesn't mean that it hasn't been waiting in the wings all this time, being good. It will become more and more important. And I think if I wasn't able to use Unity, and having used other alternatives such as Unreal, which, although extremely powerful, I feel is further away from Unity in how it works, that's where I'd go. I'd go to Godot on the basis of my experience with it this morning. So those are my initial thoughts. Take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not an expert in any of this. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about what Unity's doing. Let me know what you think about switching to Godot or something else. And if you'd like me to do more content like this, I'll leave some links in the description to actual tutorials that will show you how to use this engine, because let's face it, I don't know how to. But yeah, let me know what you think, and if you'd like to see more content like this from me in the future. All right, I'll see you next time.